The last couple of conversations, we've talked about undue influence, the worst kinds of outcomes, outcomes that can cause people to die, can ruin reputations, can result in not only mourning loss and the tragedy that goes around with death, but also imprisonment, sometimes life imprisonment. Those are, some of the worst consequences of allowing ourselves to be unduly influenced. Most of us, fortunately, are unlikely to fall into that category. But there's a broader category of inappropriate influence that we are subject to, or more subject to, and I'd like to touch on it in the next couple of minutes. This is a way of thinking. It's a way of manipulating our minds or causing us to believe less in ourselves by the influence of those who are typically in positions of authority. That's usually what undue influence involves. Or in a position that we think makes their opinion more valuable than our own. And they exploit that. I don't generally like to get into politics, but here I'm going to, and I'm going to do it without hesitation and without apology. Left wing Democratic Party in the United States influences invariably exploit the mindsets of others, undermining self confidence, creating excuses for people, and which also heightens bitterness or creates it. It's a divisive factor in relationships between, sometimes within families, but more often between groups. And it's all intended not as the party would suggest, which is to provide remedies that only they can provide, although that's the pitch, but really to get the support of the individual by feeling that that's their best option or perhaps their only option at getting a remedy. The party sees someone who is hurting, and rather than proposing a broader way of getting that resolved, suggests to the person that they are victims and that they can't help themselves. Only the government can help them. Only the Democratic Party's positions can help them. The problem with that is twofold. First of all, it usually doesn't work. The areas where government needs to get involved, and appropriately so, is to create equal opportunity for everyone. That is an American ideal. It's one of the things that brings people to our shores, legally or otherwise, because they realize that America remains the land of opportunity for those willing to, take the risk and put in the effort to do so. Does that guarantee success? Of course not. It never does. Failure is a real possibility and a frequent outcome, as a matter of fact. But the point is, we have the freedom to exercise the option of taking the risk, of getting ahead if we're skilled enough, if we're marketable enough, if we're lucky enough, whatever it is, the combination, if we're smart enough, and if we are ambitious enough and persevere for long enough. All of these things are within individual control, but they involve a great deal of self confidence and a willingness to put forward whatever it takes legally to get ahead. Weighing within our minds, of course, the trade offs, which may be putting aside pleasures or things that we really enjoy, at least taking less of that in order to do the hard work necessary to achieve our career or fiscal goals. When politicians, or anyone for that matter, puts someone down in a way to suggest that they are forever the victim, that they're unable to get ahead on their own simply because society is so stacked against them that it's not possible. That is a very serious red flag, and anyone hearing that ought to pause and think, wait a minute, why am I being told this with such conviction? Is it because it's true? I don't feel that way, or I don't want to feel that way. I believe I do have something in me that makes it possible to succeed. Yeah, it's comforting to be able to blame everybody else but ourselves for those failures that all of us are going to have one time or another. But it is unfair, and indeed, I think it's unethical. It's wrong on so many levels to imply or to state positively that we're not able to achieve the goals that we have in our own hearts and minds. That's up to us to prove or disprove, again, by the measure of, by the level of our commitment. But please do not let others, especially politicians, who have their own very real, transparent, and I dare say selfish motives for getting us to give them a little support for the few crumbs they're going to send our way, either to assuage our disappointment, to get us off the hook for responsibility, for personal responsibility, and for falsely asserting that they and they alone can make our lives better. No, we do need laws. We do need that equal playing field. But then it's up to us to take the ball and run with it. Thanks.